The housing shortage that the US is experiencing right now, the appreciation it's experiencing, it's a complete mirage. It's a complete magic trick, basically caused by some temporary dislocation in the market caused by COVID that is not going to continue into the future. How's it going, everyone? This is Nick. I'm super excited to be back here with you guys. And let me just tell you, this is an episode that you are not going to want to miss. I know a lot of you out there, you're prospective home buyers, you're prospective real estate investors. You're looking for a property right now in 2021 so you can get into real estate investment. You can take your cash that's sitting on the sideline and buy real estate. So a lot of you are really excited about that prospect, but you're finding that in 2021, it's super difficult to do that. Prices are going up out of control, 12% year over year, the highest in 20 years. There's absolutely no inventory. Inventory is the lowest it's been in 20 years. So if you're a real estate investor or a home buyer, frankly, it sucks right now. There's not a lot of options. You're competing with multiple offers. You're having to bid over ask. It's really not a good environment. So I feel like I need to make this video for you guys because when I look at the data, in terms of the US housing market, I see one thing very clearly, and that's that the housing market in the United States across the country is in a massive housing bubble that is set to pop by the end of 2021 or early 2022. And that is just quite simply what the data is saying. Specifically in relation to inventory and listings, there is going to be a deluge of new homes coming on the market over the next 12 to 18 months that people quite simply aren't prepared for. And when that deluge of new listings come, it's going to be a much better situation to buy real estate if you're a home buyer or an investor than it is right now. And so let me just say, this is the first in a 3-part series that I'm putting together for you guys on basically what the data is saying about the US housing market. On this episode, we're going to explore inventory. On the next episode, we're going to explore home buying demand. And on the third one, we're going to explore how prop tech is inflating the housing bubble. So make sure to subscribe so you're not going to miss any of these future videos. And without further ado, let's get into it. So let's just start by getting a lay of the land. What is going on in the US housing market over the last 12 months? Well, these two lines, the blue line and the green line on the graph, they really tell the entire story. The green line is the active listing count. This is the amount of active home listings on the housing market across the US. Meanwhile, the blue line is the median listing price for new homes in the US. If we go back to 2017, we can see that there was roughly 1.3 million homes on the market at any given time. In early 2017, 1.2, 1.3, maybe it goes up to 1.4 in certain months. And the median listing price was around 270, 280,000. But then basically in 2020, and actually even starting in late 2019, there was a big divergence between these two lines. Basically, the green line listings, active listing count, has plummeted over the last year, going all the way down to now 500,000. There's only 500,000 homes on the active market in the housing market in the US. Only 500,000 homes are available for purchase right now. And of course, because of that lack of supply, prices have spiked. They've gone all the way up to a median list price of $370,000 in March 2021. So it's really the divergence between the blue and the green line. The green line is plummeting, inventory is going down, and that's causing the price and listing price of homes to go way up. Because when you only have 500,000 homes on the market at any given time, you can bet that there's definitely more buyers than that at any given time, and that's just going to push prices up. So that's why you're seeing all the craziness in the current US housing market. Now, the one mistake that people make, and I see it happen all the time, a lot of realtors, a lot of investors and homeowners make this mistake. And they look at that 500,000 in active inventory and they say, whoa, Nick, what are you talking about? That means there's no housing supply. That means that the market is just going to continue to appreciate. And it's actually the exact opposite. When active inventory drops as low as it is now, you know that very soon in the future, it's going to shoot back up. Basically, the reason that active inventory is so low and that there's no listings and that prices are going up is because not really the demand for real estate's increased that much, but the supply of new listings has gone down. Over the last year, there's a phenomenon where fewer and fewer people who currently own homes are listing their home for sale. So if you have less and less people listing their home for sale, well, that's going to, of course, lower active inventory. So it's really this component of people who previously would have listed, now not listing, that's driving the housing market. And you can get a sense of what I'm talking about when you look at this graph, the great listing shortage. So if you look at 2017, 2018, 2019, you can see that like clockwork, there were 5.3 million new homes listed for sale across the United States. This is data that comes from Realtor.com. 5.3 million new homes listed each year, 2017, 2018, 2019. I put a lot of time into these videos. I love sharing this content with you guys. I love talking about real estate. If you could, please just like the video. If you like the video, that helps more people see it, helps me get more exposure. Please just like the video and maybe comment on it too. I want to hear your thoughts. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? What are your thoughts on the real estate market? Please make sure to comment down below. And of course, subscribe if you haven't done that yet already. All right, let's get back to the video. And let's just talk for a second. Why do new homes get listed? Why is it such a consistent figure? It's because there's always people who want to change their situation. People want to grow into a bigger home. They want to upsize. Some other people want to downsize. Some people want to move closer to family. Other people get a new job in a new city. There's a whole variety of kind of cyclical, transient reasons why people would list their home for sale. And this is a good thing because it kind of restores equilibrium and balance in the market. There's always people moving, listing their home for sale. But then what do you see in 2020? We had a massive decline in listings by about 800,000. So listings went from 5.27 million in 2019 to 4.45 million in 2020. So a decline of 800,000 listings in 2020. So again, 800,000 people who would have normally listed their home didn't list their home in 2020. And that's really the principal cause of the existing housing shortage that we're experiencing right now. Think back to that 500,000 active inventory figure. It's really driven by this decline of 800,000 in 2020 of people listing their home. And now I think the next logical question is, what is driving this decline in listings? And there's really two principal causes. So what we're looking at on this graph is the year-over-year decline in listings over the last 15 months. And you could see right off the bat, April 2020, there was 227,000 fewer listings than in April 2019. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that COVID had a big impact on that. May 2020, minus 160,000. So, COVID hysteria is at its peak and people are scared. I don't want to list my home for sale. I don't want to move. I don't want to have to try to find a new house. I'm not going to list. And then what's really actually concerning is that January 2021, February 2021, March 2021, that decline in listings is still occurring year over year. Listings are still going down even as we exit the COVID situation. And so right now, if you tack on the 2020 decline in listings to the 2021, we're down about 1.1 million listings over the last 15 months. 1.1 million people who would have listed their home have not listed their home. And again, this is what is driving the huge shortage of housing on the market. There's a gap of 1.1 million people over the last 15 months who have not listed but normally would have. Now, I think we need to ask the question. This is the elephant in the room. What are these people thinking? What are they doing, right? Are they just not going to list their home forever? Or did they merely delay listing their home because of the COVID situation and the really frothy market to begin 2021? And I think any reasonable person would say it's more the latter, right? Over the last year, the fundamental dynamics for why people move hasn't really changed, right? People still want to move. People still want to upsize. They still want to downsize. They still want to maybe get into a nicer neighborhood or move closer to family. Like all those pressures still exist. So I think it's very likely that these 1.1 million people have simply delayed their decision to sell. And now it's getting even more drawn out in early 2021 because the market's so frothy, more and more people are getting scared and delaying their decision to list. But you really have to ask yourself, how long is that going to go on for? As prices get higher and higher and higher and higher, the incentive for these people to sell gets greater and greater and greater and greater. And here's my prediction. Basically, I think at some point by the end of 2021, the juice in the real estate market is going to start to subside a little bit. We're going to start to see those year-over-year price increases go down and maybe stabilize. And it's at that point where this backlog of 1.1 million people who haven't listed will start to decide to list. And it's going to happen very fast, right? Because these are people who wanted to list a year ago, maybe, but still haven't. So there's all this pent-up demand to push new homes on the market for sale. And this is something that amazingly no one is talking about. Like, it's crazy how many economists I see, real estate economists, they just blindly look at the active inventory number and they say, oh my God, we need so many new homes. Those new homes are here. They're already here. And they're going to come on the market pretty soon when prices get high enough and maybe the future momentum slows down enough that people finally say, all right, I've waited 12 to 15 months to list my home. I want to now upsize. I want to downsize. I want to move closer to friends. I want to move for my job. I was putting that off. Now I'm going to do it and I'm going to list. And those 1.1 million listings are going to come fast and furious. However, there's more to it than that. So we got the 1.1 million shortfall, right? So active inventory is now 500,000. If we were to add 1.1 million to that, we get active inventory of 1.6 million. Oh crap. Now the market's starting to get saturated, but there's even more coming. 5.3 million, that's the baseline for listings each year. We were down to 4.4 in 2020. So in addition to the 1.1 million backlog, we're also gonna have an increase of 800,000 to 900,000 in listings just to get back to what the normal listing baseline is. So we have the 1.1 million backlog, and then we have another 800,000 to 900,000 of getting back to baseline. So that, if you add those two together, that's now 2 million listings. That's 2 million new home listings. This is not newly built properties. This is people who own their homes but want to move for some reason. 2 million is what the market is going to see over the next 12 to 18 months. You can start to see now how the real estate dynamics are going to shift when that happens. All of a sudden, we add 2 million new listings to the market. The supply and demand dynamics change considerably. We're going to go from a situation where there's more buyers than sellers to where there's more sellers than buyers. And all the euphoria in the housing market of the last 9 months, all the people getting so jazzed up, all their energy, oh my God, housing is back, housing is great. Anytime you have that level of euphoria, do you know what it turns into when the inflection point hits? It turns into hysteria. Euphoria always turns into hysteria. If you study market bubbles throughout history, going back to the South Sea bubble, the British bicycle bubble, the Great Depression, the dot-com bubble, there's always the same type of behavior where people get euphoric, but then when the inflection point hits, they become hysterical, and that then perpetuates a crash. And that's what's going to happen in the U.S. housing market, simply based on the deferred plans from people to sell their home into maybe late 2021, early 2022. If you guys love this content but are disappointed that I only post 2 videos per week, then you're definitely going to want to follow me on Instagram. It's at Reventure_Consulting on Instagram, at Reventure_Consulting. I post every day on Instagram. I post a new graph, a new map, a new chart based on real estate data, economics, and I also post stories of me explaining what this content means every single day. So if you want more of this content, if you want to learn more about real estate, please make sure to follow me on Instagram at Reventure_Consulting. However, there's an additional factor that we need to talk about here. So we've been talking so far just about existing homeowners putting their homes on the market. But there's another thing going on that's also going to increase new home supply in the next 12 to 18 months, and that's the crazy levels of new permitting and construction that are occurring across the U.S. Basically, home builders are now permitting and building homes basically at the level they were prior to the housing crash in 2006, 2007. we are now getting back to those levels of new building and new permitting. And I think that's welcome news for anyone that's looking to buy a home or investment property. So you can see what I'm talking about in this graph where we're tracking the amount of permits pulled by month by home builders and apartment developers across the US. And just a little history lesson, you could see here, early to mid 2000s, this number got really high, right? 2005, 2006 it peaked, and then it just crashed by like 70, 80%. Into the housing crash in 2009, 2010, 2011, and then it kind of rebounded through the mid 2010s, but it never really got back to those same levels. You can see, we were 100,000 per month, 110,000 per month, less than those 150, 160 levels that you're seeing here. But then let's pay special attention to the last year and a half. Starting in mid to late 2019, home building started spiking back up. After a brief decline in April because of COVID, it's now up, new permitting up to about 140 to 150,000 permits pulled per month across the US. That's getting pretty close to the levels of 2003, 2004, 2005. So what does that mean in terms of new inventory? Well, if we were around 100 to 110,000 a month in 2018, 2017, now we're up to 130, 140, 150. That's going to be probably an additional 500,000 new homes hitting the market over the next year compared to the prior year. So we're going to be delivering an extra 500,000 new homes to the market, right? That's a lot, especially when you consider, again, active inventory right now is 500,000. So just in new homes alone, we are going to double active inventory just from the new homes getting permitted, which are going to get then built over the next 12 to 15 months. All right, so let's just recap what we got so far. We have the 1.1 million resale units, which are simply the backlog of people that haven't listed over the last 15 months who will list. Then we have about the 900,000 resale units we need just to get back to the pre-COVID baseline. Then we have another 500,000 extra new units that are coming from builders building new homes. That is 2.5 million housing units that are very quickly going to hit the market over the next year to year and a half. 2.5 million new housing units above what has occurred over the last year. So now you guys are seeing how the current home price appreciation situation, the current lack of inventory and supply, it's a complete mirage. It's a magic trick. It basically is a magic trick that was caused by COVID, right? People got scared to list their homes because of COVID, that lowered inventory, and that has tricked people into somehow thinking that inventory is permanently lower. In fact, it's the exact opposite. There's going to be a glut and a deluge of home inventory that hits the market over the next year, and no one is prepared for it. And me creating this video and recommending this to you guys is me potentially hurting my business because I make money by recommending to people where to buy property. So I'm recommending to you guys to wait to buy property. So I'm going against my financial incentive, and that's because when I look at this data, it's the only logical conclusion, and no one's talking about it, and it needs to be talked about. Because I think a lot of people are walking into making mistakes in terms of their real estate investment decisions, being led astray by really unscrupulous realtors, brokers, homeowners, economists. A lot of people are really misrepresenting the realities of what the housing market is going to look like over the next year. So like I said, this was part one. This was covering how inventory is going to increase over the next 12 to 18 months, and that's going to change the dynamics in the housing market. Part two is going to talk about the other side of the equation, home buying demand, and why we've already reached a peak in home buying demand, and home buying demand is going to decline over the next 12 to 18 months. So you're not going to want to miss that video. Make sure to subscribe so you don't. Please also make sure to like this video. I spend a lot of time putting this content together for you guys. I really enjoy it. It just makes it easier for me to do that if you guys can interact with the video. So please like it. Please leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? I want to hear what you think. All right. Until the next video, this is Nick from Reventure Consulting signing off.